Hello and welcome back. In this session you'll be learning about guaranteed rents, or you may call it rent to rent, or a sublet. Now this could be a situation where you own the property and the income of the property is classed as the company's income, or it could be the case that you're subletting the property from a landlord and then renting it on, and the rent that you pay the landlord's classed as your expense and the income will be from the rent that you receive. Now this is done in two parts. So part one is to set a property that's owned by you, and you would set yourself up as the landlord. You would then set up a tenancy with 100% management fee. So when you collect the rent, 100% of that rent will be classed as the company's income. Then what you would do is set up a landlord in the directory, the same way as you would set up a supplier, and have a recurring payment going to the landlord that will be classed as your expense. Now in the case of a guaranteed rent, you would not be checking the landlord's statement to see what profits you've made from a property. We would use a special report that's called the branch profit and loss, and in order to extract the correct data from this report, we need to create an income and an expense for each guaranteed rent property that we create. Right, let's start with step one. We'll set up our agency as the landlord and then create a property. So we've created the landlord, now let's add a property. We'll set the management fee as 100%, but in any case you'll have the chance to set this once we've set up the tenancy. Okay, a property is now being created and you're the owner. Now let's create an expense and an income account that will be designated for this property. Let's go to Account, Chart of Accounts, and then Manage Chart of Accounts. Click to add a new account. Now we'll create an income account, but we'll give it the name of the property. So this could be the property's address, and the type's an income account. And the same applies with an expense account. Now let's create a tenancy. Click on Let this property, or you can create a tenancy via the Add menu on the right. Now we'll select the tenant that you're renting or subletting the property to. Now here's the key part. The management fee needs to be set to 100%, and what that means is 100% of the rent that comes in will be allocated towards your company's income, and the company's income account needs to be selected from the management fee income account, which in this case will be the property's income account that we created earlier. We'll disable VAT on the management fee. Okay, what's been done so far is we've created a tenancy and you're the landlord as an agency who is subletting it to a tenant. Now the landlord statement in this case will be ignored. You won't be using the landlord statement feature here. We're going to go to the report section and view the branch profit and loss. So let's receive rent from the tenant. Now that rent has been received, let's go to Reports and then Branch Profit and Loss. this page lets us filter out specific income and expense accounts. So in this case, we'll choose the income and expense account that's related to the property. As you can see here, so far we've received £1,000 rent, and that's classed as our income. Now let's proceed with the workflow and create a work order so we can see an expense and also pay the landlord. Click to add a new work order. Right, now that we've added the work order, let's process the payment. A few things to understand when you're processing a work order for a guaranteed rent. The contractors section at the top can be used, but you would choose the expense account for the property that we created earlier. The section down the bottom will never be used for the landlord, since you're the landlord. If you're going to charge the real landlord, that will be done via the directory as a separate invoice, but you can use it if the tenant's going to bear the cost of the job. Right, the work order's now been created, we've received rent, we've then processed the work order. Now let's go to take a look at the report again. We can now see the rent as the income and the contractor's expense in the expenses column here. Now, that's how to deal with a property that's owned by you as the agency. What we're going to do now is set up a directory record for the landlord that you're subletting from. Let's go to directory. We'll add a new directory contact, but select the category landlords from the category menu. Okay, so the actual landlord has been added in the system and they're treated as a contractor. So you would simply enter a recurring bill payment for the rent that you'll be paying them each month. Let's go to their accounts, then enter a bill payment. For the expense account, we'll choose the property expense that we created earlier. We'll then select the option to make it recurring. And now the system will generate a monthly bill to pay the landlord for the rent. If we drill down into the main account, we can see that the bill payment has put the landlord in credits by £500. Now let's have a look at the report to see how that's reflected. The report now shows us a net income of £400. That's £1,000 income less £600 of expenses. Now if we click to drill down into the expenses, we can see the bill payment for the rent and the contractor's bill for the maintenance charge. Now let's apply a charge to the actual owner of the property, so this could be for any type of deduction that will be classed as our company's income. Go to apply a charge. And again select the property's income account. If we now drill down into the client's main account, we can see the rent that's due to be paid to the landlord minus £120, which was the charge that we applied, leaving a current balance of £380. Now again, let's take a look at the report to see how that's been affected. Branch profit and loss, and we can see a net income of £500. That's 1,100 rent minus 600 of expenses, leaving us £500. Let's go into the income account. There's £100 which we charged the real owner of the property, and then the £1,000 rent, which is 100% of a management fee. Right, one main step to complete this workflow, and that's to go to the directory payable and make a payment to the landlord. After selecting the landlord, the second screen lets you tick off the bill payment that you're about to pay. As with any other directory record, you're able to email a remittance advice slip. Okay, that completes the workflow of both phases. I'm now going to show you how to keep a track of the properties that are owned by a directory record. Go to Edit a Property. The third tab lets you specify the guaranteed rent landlord. On the directory record, go to Properties, and you'll see a list of properties that are linked to this directory record. So let's quickly summarize what's happened. We've created ourselves as a landlord, we then created a property, and we created an income and an expense account. We then created the tenancy, and we chose 100% as the management fee. The income account was the account that we created for the property. We then select the appropriate income and expense account for every expense and income that the property incurs. The rent that we collect is classed as 100% as income, and then to show an expense which goes out to the landlord, we've created a directory record. We then create a recurring bill payment that then gets classed as an expense against the property because we've selected the correct expense account. We then refer to the branch profit and loss report for our own landlord statement. We then went into a property and linked it to a directory record